This is the Frat House Sports Show. And now for this week's completely different and humorous perspective on everything sports, here's Frat House Mike and Sidekick.
All right, well, thank you for joining us once again on this new Frat House Sports Show this week in studio, huh?
Yep.
New look, new gig here, huh? What do you think? Everybody like it? If you don't, too bad. We're going with it.
Yep. For another year.
Yeah, exactly. Let us know by next year at this time. Maybe we'll think about changing it.
Hey, at least it's not 5 minutes anymore.
What is that? That's the old show. Oh, I completely forgot about that one. Yeah.
People were getting on us. You said 5 minutes.
They were getting on us 2 years ago. Are you kidding me?
I know.
We sat down and we were trying to put this show together. And as I pointed out, first one in studio here because, of course, last week we were out on the road. But, my gosh, Sidekick, so much to talk about this week with the first week of the NFL and all the things that happened there. And then, of course, everything that has exploded in around NASCAR that, in fact, we had to kind of make an executive decision tonight. And so, therefore, I was going to put Major League Baseball in there. I was going to give you updates on that. I was actually even thinking, we haven't talked about Major League Soccer in a while. And we've got NHRA kicking in on their countdown. But the bottom line is this. We've got to just kind of talk about NASCAR and football tonight. And that's where we're going to go. Yep. As I pointed out, we saw NASCAR's last race for the season last week down at Richmond. You were there live on the ground, and I want to get your opinion on a number of things, as we just got done saying. We've talked now for weeks about the fact that there was a lot of tension, a lot of emphasis, particularly on that leaderboard. You've been hearing us say it week after week after week about the guys trying to struggle to get into the chase. All those guys from about 6 down, who are bubbles and trying to get in for the wild cards. Well, it all kind of came to pass last week, as we saw. I'm going to mention it right now, although it really has not been mentioned at all last week. Yes, there was a winner at the Richmond race, and that was Carl Edwards. He won his second of the season. And that put him in 5th place currently right now in the chase. And I say currently right now because we're going to take a look at where the chase lineup ended up at this point. And there you have it. There's our 12 drivers. Now, let me point this out. That's not the way the list looked last, Sunday morning?
Yeah, Sunday morning.
Going into Monday. That's not the way that list looked then. Because there was a little bit of an incident with just 6 laps remaining in the 400-lap race. Clint Boyer spun out, causing a caution. And this completely changed the outcome of the race and subsequently the driver eligibilities for the chase. Prior to the caution, Sidekick, it appeared that there was little doubt that Ryan Newman probably was going to win the race. Little doubt on that one. Now, you were there on the ground, all right? And as I pointed out to you pre-show, we were here, we were watching it. I saw it happen, and the first reaction I had was, wow, that just changed everything. But when I saw it, I didn't think anything of it. What was your impression when you saw it first occur, that spin with 6 laps left?
I saw the spin, and I posted on the Frat House Facebook page about that. I was not, one of the things going to the track, you don't have the benefit of the broadcast and the replays and stuff like that. So I actually, while I saw the spin, it wasn't until I was back Sunday here
that you actually
and you guys were telling me about all the controversy that I realized that I heard anything had gone on.
So
as far as I knew, Boyer spun, and
so
Carl
to the
Edwards
average
won the race.
The average fan in the stands, you got kind of the same impression we did here right here at home, and that was, hey, it was a spin with 6 laps remaining. However, that's apparently not the way it went. We've got some in-car audio coming at you right now with a look at that spin.
Carl Edwards is going to win. I don't know, man. Newman's closing on him. Right now they're tied for the last spot. You're clear by 2 on this 13. Press your tires. You got a hell of a race for the lead. 16 to go, man. 39 is going to win the race. Well, that kind of sucks. 9 more right here. Is your arm starting to hurt? I bet it's hot in there, itching. Oh, yeah.
Now, it seemed like almost immediately after the race, everybody was questioning what in the heck that conversation was all about. They're talking about, hey, you know, you're itching, it must be getting hot in there. And it was just very, very odd how people caught onto it. As I pointed out, I think from the average viewer looking at it on television, we didn't quite get it. It looked innocent enough in many respects. As I pointed out, those of us that follow racing as closely as we all do here, we knew that it was going to change things up because obviously on the restart, things were gonna get shook up. So, but immediately there were those that many were questioning Boyer and whether in fact he may have purposefully spun his vehicle, and Boyer himself was apparently asked about that immediately after the race as well. And we've got a little bit of the audio of his comments on that one. And when you hear it, you're going to hear what I kind of feel is, well, it's a little bit disingenuous. Let's hear that.
Well, Clint, we just watched some of the replays and we heard the radio. And people that hear that radio, somebody asking you if your arm's hurt or if the car's getting hot, they're going to want to know, did you spin on purpose to help your teammate?
No, I think we had a flat tire or something. I mean, we went from leading the race and got back there, and they were driving off from us. I got down in there, it kept getting tighter and tighter and tighter, and then the 88 got in there, and by the time I got back to the gas, he got into me, and I had so much wheel in it, it just snapped around.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, he comes in there and he goes, oh, nah, we had a flat tire or something. I mean, well, I think you'd know whether you had a flat tire or not. Come on. But frankly, I got to be honest with you. Now, he mentions the 88. Dale obviously had to do a little maneuvering to get around Clint, who rather methodically, spun that car to make sure that he didn't necessarily take anybody out. I thought that Dale Jr.'s post-race was actually a little more amusing. And we can hit that one off right now, and we'll hear Dale's comments on that one.
He just spun right out. That's the craziest thing I ever saw. The thing just came right around. We were going into through 3 and 4, and I don't know if they can put up his brakes and his gas. We got all that technology, but he was hemming around on the brakes and jerking the car around, and then the thing just spun out. It was crazy. I don't know what was going on, but.
Well, there you go. I mean, it was actually kind of amusing.
His interviews.
Oh yeah, it was actually kind of amusing. Now, as the whole thing continued to unravel even some more, then we've got Brian Vickers, who's on the Michael Waltrip racing team.
Yep.
There was transcript coming from his in-car radio as well. We've got some of that transcript that was published by USA Today. And it was quite evident, if you read through this, that in fact Vickers was in some respects kind of duped. He had no idea what was going on, while his crew is telling him that he had to pit. He's protesting. What do I have to pit for now? Do I have a tire going down? He's asking. Excuse me. And at one point, he's asking later on, did you find anything? And the crew's coming back going, listen, I'll see you after the race. We owe you a kiss there, Brian. All right. We ultimately had some major league penalties coming down on all of this. I know you've got the outline on it, and I know you got some thoughts on it. So let's go with it, and let's get this one out of our system.
All right,
because this is big. This is big.
So, Michael Waltrip Racing has been charged with violating Section 12-4, actions detrimental to stock car racing.
We're going to talk about that in a second.
Okay. That great catch-all, right?
Yep.
So basically, 3 drivers from Michael Waltrip Racing, Clint Boyer, Martin Truex Jr., and Brian Vickers have all been penalized 50 championship driver points.
Right.
50
owner points.
Championship owners points. Michael Waltrip Racing has been fined $300,000. Ty Norris, the executive VP, general manager of Michael Waltrip Racing, has been suspended indefinitely, and all 3 crew chiefs are under probation
until the end of the year.
Until the end of the year.
Right. All right. What do you think of all this? I mean, the first, I'm going to go in a couple of different directions. Number one, the 12-4. Do me a favor, take that one, throw it out the window. First thing I said was, I'm so sick of NASCAR using this, as you just pointed out, as their catch-all for anything and everything that they just look at and go, oh, we're going to slap your hands. Give me a rule. Give me a rule. There is no fast rule on this, all right? They're always going back to, how is it phrased? Something detrimental to racing.
Yep.
Activities or behavior or whatever it might be, detrimental to racing. This is
that
nonsense.
the best you got, huh? Is that the best you can do?
NASCAR is the only sport of all of the major sports where the fans do not have access to their rule book, probably because there's only 4 rules in the book.
Yes.
Now, you know, the interesting thing about it is we've talked about so many times this season about penalties that have come down. And you have made the point of saying, oh boy, NASCAR is really firm on the rules when it comes to how the engine is and what goes on underneath the hood. But boy, oh boy, they're not too clear on what's going on out there on the track. Yep. That's my first complaint about this one. There was an article that was posted up by Uncle Mark on our Frat House Sports Facebook page the other day, where the columnist essentially said, come on, this isn't a violation, this is old-time racing reaction.
Well, let me start off by saying this, okay? Mainstream media, okay? Look over there. There's Miley Cyrus over there twerking, okay? To everybody looking for some sort of cause to take up. Hey, by the way, there's a team in Washington called the Redskins, okay? Now that I got everybody else that's got a brain listening, okay? This is NASCAR.
Some people without brains do an awful lot of talking.
You know, we have to go back and we have to look at the history of NASCAR.
Right.
Okay? I mean, there's an undercurrent of cheating in NASCAR. NASCAR came from bootleggers outrunning cops during Prohibition. And once Prohibition was repealed, they were outrunning the revenuers. Okay? There's always been this going on. You know, another example, 2001, the Pepsi 400, okay? That was the year Dale Earnhardt Sr. died at the Daytona 500, okay? Michael Waltrip blocked the whole rest of the field so that Dale Jr. could win the Pepsi 400, which was the first race at Daytona after his father had passed away. Nobody was crying foul when we gave Dale Jr. the race to honor his father. Nobody was crying foul about cheating then.
Yeah, good point.
When we have restrictor plate racing and we have teams talking about, hey, I want to hook up and I want to draft, nobody's crying foul there.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think too many people, mainstream media and casual fans, are making too much of this.
Let's get into real quick, though, what the ramifications now have been, though, with regard to the drivers that were in the chase, now aren't, and the ones that have replaced them. Ryan Newman is now in. He was initially out. Martin Truex now out. He was initially in.
Yes.
Is there fairness in this? Have we fixed, you know, is this NASCAR's way of going, hey, we fixed, you know, what was a real problem, and because of the fact there was cheating involved, we've corrected, you know, this felonious way the race was run. I mean, is this, you know?
No, this doesn't change anything. As far as I'm concerned, NASCAR, you know, their competition committee is no better than Clint Boyer now. Because everybody's yelling at Clint Boyer about, you know, oh, okay, you're manipulating the race. Michael Waltrip Racing was manipulating the race. Well, now NASCAR's manipulating the race and putting in people that they think should be in and kicking out people who they think should be out.
Right.
Now you've got Logano and Dave Gilliland being investigated, which I think is possibly a ruse by NASCAR to get Gordon in because Gordon fans are all pissed off.
That's exactly what I think.
And I'm sorry, but Gordon needs to shut up and stop whining. You had 25 other races to qualify for the chase.
Yep.
And you couldn't get it done. The fact that you're out by 1 point, I'm sorry. Stop your whining. You spoon-fed freaking little baby.
Now, when I heard the in-car audio, however, from the Logano incident, and of course, unfortunately, it came up way too late in the day yesterday in order for us to get any kind of, graphics or audio on that one. But when I heard that one, that seemed to be a lot more flagrant, in my opinion, than what we just got done hearing from Clint Boyer, which seemed to be much more coded, if you understand what I'm saying.
Sure.
You actually had a team saying, we need your driver to pull back and let our guy go ahead.
Yep.
It was very, very evident. You have indicated this kind of thing has been going on for years.
Right. Let me ask you this. How different is what Dave Gilliland and Joey Logano did versus teammates who are running first and second in a race, and the leader gives up the lead for his teammate to get the lead to earn 5 points?
No different.
Any different?
No different, except for the fact that what you're dealing with is you're dealing with two different teams here in this particular case, correct?
Right.
Right.
But
when it's inside the team, you don't have that kind of spotlight on it, is what my point is. You know,
and granted, in this situation, you're talking about a guy on the bubble who's trying to ensure that he's getting in, and the other is, you're just trying to get those 5 points through the season, so you're not a point off.
Right.
Trying to get, into the chase. But I don't really see where there's a difference with drivers and spotters communicating, saying, hey, let me pass you. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's the same as, the courtesy that racers give leaders.
A lap car.
Or in the chase even. Mm-hmm. You'll notice in the chase now, those drivers that are not in the chase
yeah.
will give those chasers a little more space and room and move out of the way for them, not to hurt them in the chase.
Right.
Okay, how's that any different?
Right.
I honestly think everybody's just making a big stink out of nothing on this. I really don't think, yes.
There's something screwy around here.
Guilty of throwing the race. But having said it, it's not like it hasn't been done before.
Yeah, not that it made any difference. Not that it makes any difference whatsoever to Brian Vickers' case, because obviously he wasn't in the chase at all. I kind of felt that based upon the transcript that we saw there, I did not think that Vickers should have in any way been penalized. That was number one. It was obvious he was out of the loop. He was kind of duped himself. And we have yet to see any real evidence that Truex had any kind of collusion or was complicit in any way. Well, this appeared to be strictly a situation between Boyer and his crew to help Truex. That was
honestly, NASCAR in their statement even said they can't prove Boyer spun intentionally. In their statement, they said that.
That's why we're going to cite 12-4.
Exactly.
Because there's no rule.
And when we talk about the punishment, I don't agree with the punishment whatsoever.
Yeah.
You've got Truex who really didn't do anything wrong. He just benefited. He benefited from a teammate spinning. Okay? But he specifically didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
You've got Vickers. I'm sorry, but I don't see anything wrong with calling a driver down to pit road to let another driver advance a position. Mm-hmm. Like I said, this has been done before. So I don't see why Vickers is getting harmed in this.
Yep.
If anything, Boyer, if you want to lay a heavy hand, instead of sitting there going through all this like
you mentioned this, right?
How about kicking Boyer, taking the unprecedented step, since you took an unprecedented step, fining and doing all this other stuff, how about taking Boyer and telling him, you can race the next 10 races, you're not eligible for the chase.
Period.
Your spot now is open. Everybody moves up one.
Yeah.
Gordon gets in then. You tell Boyer,
it's an interesting...
because you threw the race intentionally, you're out now.
Yeah.
Don't harm the other people who were kind of just innocent bystanders that got caught up in it. Kick Boyer out.
It's an interesting issue, and here we are at last race of the season. We're going into the chase. We're going to Chicagoland for chase race number 1, but it certainly ended in a rather exciting sort of way, albeit somewhat muddied. Go ahead, you had one more.
I'm sorry. There was one thing I wanted to also elaborate on, back to the penalties and all this media muck. So for the second week in a row, I'm telling you, we may have to introduce this as a segment where, media on blast. Mm-hmm. Okay? So I got to read this quote as I was doing my research, and I found George Diaz of the Orlando Sentinel, who had this to say about the Richmond scandal. Quote, NASCAR, unfortunately, is now playing the role of the ref in pro wrestling who always seems to miss the chair to the head. The cheating and the cat calls and the chicanery make it the perfect foil. But sadly, it's never a good thing when you get compared to a sport that's fake.
Yeah, and I had some choice comments for the gentleman myself pre-show, and that's just an ignorant statement to make. I'm sorry. And I don't believe that gentleman, that columnist, probably writes anything with regard to NASCAR. Obviously, he is an ignorant individual that doesn't know anything about NASCAR. One thing I will take exception to myself as well, and I'm just going to throw it out there real quick, talking about media and how they have painted this situation this week. I took great exception to a handful of columnists I read this week who attempted to make comparisons of this to, believe it or not, the Black Sox scandal back in, what was it, 1909?
Yeah.
That is ridiculous and a disgrace. And again, columnists like that have absolutely no concept of what they're talking about when it comes to NASCAR.
There seems to be no sign of intelligent life anywhere.
Put your pen down and shut up.
And piggyback one more beef about this. While we're on beefs, because we're not sports journalists. We're two guys that are passionate about sports and talk about sports. At least get your terminology right. I've seen USA Today and all these mainstream newspapers say that NASCAR kicked Truex out and put Newman in. And that is actually incorrect. They docked Truex 50 points, which dropped him to 17th, which then allowed Newman to move up into that last wild card spot.
Yep.
The intent, or NASCAR did not say, Truex, you're out,
Right.
So at least get, can we get a little technical when we describe what actually happened?
Get the procedure correct.
So,
all right.
Sorry. We've
Chase race, we have. Chase race 1 coming up this Sunday. Coverage beginning at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. Just FYI, all of us that are in the Frat House Sports Fantasy, NASCAR Fantasy League are in the chase. We're in, of course, right now the lineup has been shuffled. I'll be showing the lineup shortly. But what that means is we need to get our weekly fantasy advice. That this week is being brought to us by our friends down in the Baltimore, Maryland area over at Herb FM Sports. HerbFM.com. Make sure you get over there and check them out. They've been supporting us for over a year now, and we appreciate that. And, Sidekick, your fantasy segment this week brought to you by Herb. There you go.
I knew we were gonna
go on. Yeah, we were gonna
talk about Richmond for a while.
Yep.
So I got names. I got dollar amounts and stuff. I'm not going to go into big long things about why that driver. So picks this week brought to you by Herb FM. Kyle Busch, 28.75.
Let me write these down. Go ahead, Kyle.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Martin Truex Jr., 25.50. I'm not staying away from controversy. Joey Logano, 23.50.
You certainly aren't staying away from.
Eric Amarola, 17.25. And the lucky dog goes to Justin Allgaier, $5.
How about
that takes the roster to $100 even.
How about that? All right.
That was Sidekick's Fantasy Picks brought to you by Herb FM.
Thank you very much. There we go. And thank you, HerbFM.com. We've only spent 23 minutes talking racing, but let's do it just for a couple more seconds. How about our Frat House Sports Facebook post of the week? A funny photo post that came to us from Uncle Mark last week showing Tony Stewart driving his little scooter alongside the front row of drivers. And Uncle Mark puts up the comment, well, it appears we have one late qualifier added to the field in Richmond. Hashtag smoke will rise. Actually, we probably could have, it would have been nice had he been there, huh? Very, very good. That post got hundreds and hundreds of views. All right.
And glad to see you back at the track.
Yep. Yeah, real, absolutely.
All
right. Let's get on to our next hot topic, and that is lots and lots of football talk coming right here And we're going to start it off right here with this.
And now, 4 minutes of football.
A couple of odd phenomena we saw last week. I don't know if you noticed it or not. I know that it was referenced on a number of the broadcasts. First of all, we saw one of the fewest number of kickoff returns in the NFL ever for any one given weekend. The fewest number. I think there were only about 44 kickoff returns. Now, I'm not talking punt returns. We're talking kickoff returns. You know, a lot of them going off into the end zone. However, ancillary to that, we also saw, and I'm going to try to just maybe tie in a connection here. I'm going to throw it at you. We saw 4 safeties in one weekend's worth of play. Now, to give you a comparison, there were 13 safeties in all of the season last year. We had 4 just in week 1. Question, is there a connection potentially between the fact we're not going to return the ball, which is what NFL wants? Hey, we don't want any kickoff returns anymore. Could there be a connection between that and the number of safeties that we saw? Now, I'm going to eliminate the Eagles one because that was not a kickoff return.
You know, I think it's a fluke, honestly.
Okay, yeah.
You know, last time this happened, it was 1999.
Yes.
Last time we had 3 on
Yes.
Opening weekend. You know, not including Monday.
Do you think? Okay, go ahead.
Okay. But you know, looking at what the safeties were, you know, the first one was you know, Darius. Sorry if I mess up the name. Renaud.
Okay.
Renaud. He fields a kick in the field of play, and then backs up in the end zone, and then. Yep. You know, now, clearly it was close to the line, and he may not have exactly known.
Right, well.
But, you know.
You got to wonder whether some of it is just, you know, first week jitters, huh? Is that how you're painting it? All right.
Yeah, because then you've got, you know, Jacksonville blocks a Chiefs punt that goes through the back of the end zone, and then you've got Josh Freeman who kicks a failed snap out of the back of the end zone.
Right.
To keep from a touchdown getting scored.
Okay.
So, you know.
All right. All right.
I was going to say, I have something for you.
Yes, go.
So in 2005, Mark Bulger threw for 2 400-yard games. In the 70s, there were only 5 games that were 400 yards.
Yep.
This past weekend, we saw 3 quarterbacks throw for 400 yards.
Yep.
What gives?
Yeah. Well, you know, and the conversation was, you know, has it become passé? Frankly, I don't think so. Look, what you're seeing right now is just a metamorphosis of what the NFL is right now. It is a much more offensive league, period. That's it. Are 400-yard games any less exciting? No, not for me. Not for me. I think it's ironic when you see a game like the Giants, Eli Manning throwing for 450 yards, and, hey, what? They lose the game, three interceptions. Real quick, Detroit defensive tackle. I'm going to burn it. Yeah, go ahead. Sue issued $100,000 fine the other day, one of the largest in league history, for a low block on Minnesota Vikings center John Sullivan. Here's my problem with this. We're not supposed to hit them high. We can't hit them low. You know, where are we supposed to be hitting them? I mean, obviously, yeah, look, I'm not backing up Sue. It was obviously a bad-looking play. It didn't look good, and the guy has a record. But are we just take tackle out of the whole concept of tackle football, yes?
It's going to be flag football in 10 years, I'm telling you.
Yep. All right. All right, well, I just was a little bit taken back by it. All right.
I think Sue gets a bad rap.
A bad rap. $350,000 in the past 6 years. That's how much he's paid in fines. I don't know if he necessarily gets a bad rap. All right, time for our games and picks of the week. And, hey, these are sponsored this week by our good friends Carl and Jim over at CLW83.com. Check out their podcast programming over there, of which we are a part of and which Sidekick and I have been a part of on some of their programming as well. And we thank them for their support of our Frat House Sports Show. Let's kick it off. We're going to take a look at the San Diego Chargers at the Philadelphia Eagles, and this is a 1 o'clock game on Sunday. Now, I pushed for this game, Sidekick, to be on our agenda this week for one reason and one reason only. That was the performance that we saw on Monday night. Otherwise, I wouldn't have. That was honestly, and I got to ask you, I mean, I've never seen anything like what we saw on Monday night. At one point on the first drive down the field, the Eagles ran 4 plays in 1 minute on the clock. Have you ever seen anything like this?
I have to say, I watched Monday night's game, and I have, with no disrespect to the Rams, but this is potentially the greatest show on turf 2.0 with Chip Kelly's offense. It was great watching it. It was, exciting. They 53 plays in the first half.
Yeah.
But the question I have now with this is, how long before we see Vic, McCoy, and Jackson all hurt?
It's a great point.
Because we're watching Jackson out there just running down the field. They're going to burn out.
I agree
and they're
with
going to get hurt.
I agree with you.
Where's Chip Kelly? Is he going to be able to find the next guy to step up for any of these, they're going to be able to fill in?
Yeah, to me, I've got questions of sustainability from the standpoint of whether the players can keep the pace as we saw. Obviously, they let down a bit in the second half. We didn't see quite the offensive aerial attack that we saw in the first half. I'm just questioning whether they can do that, whether the league is going to catch up to it. I have frequently referred to Kelly as this gizmo kind of offense he's going to bring in here. I've never necessarily been one that endorsed it or was for it, but...
And they almost let the Redskins get back into that game.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
And I'm wondering if that's...
Well,
if that had to do with... Because Chip Kelly took...
That was the defense.
The
that was the defense, though, that really let them get back into that game. And I think that the defense has always been suspect to begin with. The defense that we saw from the Eagles in the first half was quite a bit different from the defense that we saw in the second half. I frankly think the defense that we saw in the second half is a defense you can expect on a full-time basis. That's my personal opinion. But take a look at this one for a moment. The Eagles. Who would have ever thunk this one? Not in 14 years under Andy Reid. 263 yards rushing the Eagles had, of which LaShawn McCoy had 184 of those. Michael Vick ended up with 112.6 QB rating. Now, we're playing against the Chargers, who had a 28-7 lead on the Houston Texans Monday evening. Before it all fell apart in the fourth quarter, the Chargers actually didn't look too bad themselves. Texas came back and won that game, though, 31-28. Game is being held at Lincoln Financial Field. Eagles are a 7.5-point favorite. Is this inflated?
I don't think so. Not this early in the season.
All right.
I'm going fly, Eagles, fly. I think the Eagles are going to take this one.
I'm going to pick the Eagles. I think San Diego may cover that spread. Eagles will win, but perhaps not by that much. But I'll take the Eagles. Let's go take a look at the Denver Broncos at the New York Giants. 4:25 on Sunday. We touted this one as the guys are, both of them are disputing it. They're getting a little bit, in fact, a bit annoyed at the media. We've been calling it.
Oh,
everybody else has been calling it the Manning Bowl. And it's, I love to hear, and we've heard it for now a while. You hear the debate, those that are on both sides of the coin. Is Eli better than Peyton? Is Peyton better than Eli? And the thing you always hear is you hear folks coming back going, well, Eli's got to be better. He's got 2 Super Bowls. Peyton's only got 1. Well, listen, I'm going to tell you right now, if you take a look at the box scores from last week's game, it's a no-brainer. Peyton's got it all over the younger brother. Peyton Manning last Thursday evening did something that hasn't been done since 1969. He threw for 7 touchdowns. Helped my fantasy team out tremendously.
Yeah, it didn't help me.
Now,
sitting on the bench.
Similarly, Eli, you're talking about 400-yard games. Eli also threw for 400 yards, as I pointed out. I think it was close to 450 in a losing effort against the Cowboys. But he also had 3 interceptions, and the entire team, that entire Giants team, looked like they were sleepwalking through the game.
Yep.
I made the observation they looked like a high school squad. Denver is favored by 4.5 over the G-men. Where are you going?
Well, here's a prediction. We may see the NFL record for
yards?
combined yards thrown in this game. If Eli throws for another 450, 470, Peyton throws his.
I give a little more credit to Denver's defense than I do Dallas's, but that's all right. Go ahead.
So, but I'm sorry, but I think Peyton schools Eli.
Yeah, I'm going with Denver as well. I think that one's easy. This one should be really great. San Francisco 49ers at the Seattle Seahawks, 8:30 on Sunday. We got ourselves an NFC West matchup here. Both teams winning their opener, albeit the Seahawks were playing from behind against the Panthers until late in the fourth quarter. Seattle just didn't appear to be clicking on all cylinders. In fact, they appeared to only be clicking on maybe about 1 out of 4 of them through most of that game. Meanwhile, the 49ers were involved in a barn burner against the Green Bay Packers. And if you were to conduct a straight, Kaepernick-Wilson comparison from last week, there's no comparison. Kaepernick, he wins easily, 129.4 QB rating, 27-39, 412 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Seahawks, though, are favored by 3. Obviously, the game is in Seattle. That might explain that, but where are you going?
Well, this is my bomb diggity. Because this game is going to be a slobber knocker. This game is going to be the best game of the weekend because the NFC West is where all the action is now.
Yep.
You can forget the NFC East and all that stuff. The West is where the action is now. Mm-hmm. You got 2 hot quarterbacks. You got Kaepernick and you got Russell Wilson. You've got 2 good running backs. You've got, beast mode, Marshawn Lynch, and then you got Frank Gore,
who did nothing last week. But go ahead.
Both running backs were kind of silent last week.
Characteristically.
Yeah,
yes, gotcha.
That's it. And they both got they both got decent defenses. Mm-hmm. So yes. I think it's really kind of a coin toss.
Decent. Good.
Between these 2 teams. I'm going to give the advantage to the 12th man in Seattle. I'm going to say Seattle takes this.
How about that? And I'm going to go on the comparison of the 2 quarterbacks, just exactly as I said here. I think Kaepernick is a little bit sharper right now so far from what we've seen. I'm going with the 49ers. I think that's our first change all season so far.
Yep.
All right, we might get a change here. I'm not sure. Pittsburgh Steelers at the Cincinnati Bengals, 8:40 Monday game. Not a single team this past weekend in the AFC North won a game. So all 4 teams right now are tied up at 0-1 records. But I think some of them are actually a little worse off than others, and a lot of talk this week that team might just be Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh trailed 16-2 to the Tennessee Titans until a Roethlisberger touchdown with just about 1:30 remaining in the game last weekend. It was a particularly gruesome one. Cincinnati at the same time they lost a close one actually to the Chicago Bears 24-21. Dalton didn't have a great game, but he didn't have a horrible game. I wouldn't say, and again, if you did the QB comparison, he certainly had a better game than Roethlisberger. But nonetheless, Bengals are favored in this one by 7. Not too many in Vegas are giving anything to the Steelers right now. Where are you going on this?
Well, as you alluded to earlier, everybody in the NFC North lost this weekend.
Yep.
So we're going to have somebody in the North is going to win this week.
Yeah, somebody is, right.
Somebody's getting a win in the North. And, the Steeler fans are, they're going to be out there cheering, going, bring out your dad. Because, because the injuries are piling up for the Steelers. And the season-ending injuries are really starting to pile up. I'm sorry, but the Ginger Giant's going to tear down the steel curtain.
Yep, I'm going with Cincinnati as well. Cincinnati all the way.
Ginger Power.
All right.
It's a new mic.
No, not necessarily. I always think with my head. Always thinking with my head. All right, there's our picks for this week. Thanks to Jim and Carl over there at CLW83, CLW83.com. Make sure you get over and check them out. All right, real quick new segment we got here. Anything last on our mind? We get to do our audibles for the week. And I'm going to throw one out right now on Terrell Pryor. And you made a little bit of a confession pre-show yourself. I got up on Monday, and I'm reading fantasy blogs, and everybody's screaming about Terrell Pryor, and I'm sitting there going, what? Why? 19 of 29, 217 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, 1 sack, a 70.6 QB rating. And everybody's talking about Terrell Pryor like as if he's the second coming. What in the world is going on here?
112 rushing yards. The second leading rusher in the NFL in week 1. That's what's going on, Michael.
All right.
Terrell Pryor may be a mediocre...
And you picked him up yourself.
I'm going to get to that. Terrell Pryor may be a mediocre quarterback, but he's going to be one hell of a fantasy quarterback.
Yep.
He's probably going to be
If you say so.
top 10 quarterback this season. I went and picked him up. I'm carrying three quarterbacks now. I'm starting Terrell Pryor this week over Tony Romo in my fantasy team.
It's an outrage.
I don't know. Is that an upgrade? All right, let's go over and take a look real quick. We've got a game tonight in about a couple of minutes coming up. We got the Jets and the Patriots going at it. We had a situation last week. Both teams struggled, and struggled big time.
Yep.
But both got a win. Both were playing, I believe, interdivision games, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, I forget on that one. The Jets were playing, I forget, were the Jets playing in
Jets
interdivision
played
game?
Bucks.
Okay. So but the Jets won that game by 1 point. And of course, New England was playing Buffalo. Obviously, the Pats are going to win this game.
Not so fast, Mike.
Go ahead, go.
Not so fast. If there was ever a chance for the Jets to have a shot at knocking off the Patriots, it's this week.
Why?
They're coming. The Patriots did not play well last week.
Okay.
You've got Shane Vereen now out.
Yeah.
He's on IR.
Amendola.
Gronkowski's out. Amendola, surprise, surprise, he's limping around. Like I said, the Patriots didn't necessarily look good last week. The Jets were lucky and squeaked one out against the Bucks.
All right.
So I'm not. It's not a stone cold lock.
It's a 12.5 point spread. I don't know. I would agree. I don't know necessarily that the Pats cover that spread, but I'll tell you right now, the Patriots are going to win this game. Something else that struck me the other day watching that Eagles game, we talked about this before, RG3, I know it was the first game coming back from that injury, but it starts to leave lingering doubts in your mind. Might he, because of the injury, sophomore slump, all that, is he going to be able to get back to form? And when you take a look at his ending numbers, yes, the Redskins came back. They came within 6 points of the Eagles. But RG3, 30 of 49, 329 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 3 sacks, a 77.7 QB rating. I think I've heard you express it yourself. You're concerned a little bit about RG3 this year.
Yeah, well, obviously he's sophomore slump, and we don't know. Well, there are a couple factors. Sophomore slump. We don't know how he's going to come back from the injury. Plus, teams have had a year to see him play.
Yeah.
And they've got game tape on him.
Yep.
So,
But the game tape, that game tape meant nothing compared to what we saw on Monday night because he did not play like he did last year on Monday night.
He's
exactly.
a pocket passer now.
Exactly.
Because he had 5 rushes for 24 yards and a fumble.
Right. Talking about the Eagles real quick, let's go forward and take a look at a formation that I happened to come across talking about the Chip Kelly offense and how outrageously bizarre. I have never seen anything in the world like this. If you take a look, we've got 3 receivers lined up on the right side, 3 up on the left side. You've got 3 in the center covering the quarterback. That's it. McCoy is back behind the quarterback, Vic. I'm assuming to step up and try to cover some of the defensive linemen. That is one of the most bizarre offensive formations I have ever seen in all my years in the NFL. Last but not least, I want to go ahead.
Actually, before you go off that, how many games before defense figures out how to call a defensive audible and they bring everybody up the line and blitz? And bring everybody
you would
kitchen
think.
sink.
It'd be easy enough to do, for sure. All right, a couple more things real quick. I want to throw a shout out to my folks out there in Lansing. many, many congrats to Brady Hoke and to my Michigan Wolverines for beating up on those Notre Dame Fighting Irish last Saturday. Beat them 41-30. Jumped Michigan's ranking from 17th to 11th. I love it. Good job, guys. They're now 2-0. And last but not least, we won't spend a lot of time on it, but let's just take a peek in real quick. There's the Frat House Sports Fantasy. Number 1 up there, number 14.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Here we go.
And
I order you to be quiet!
make sure, please, we haven't seen it yet. This is the first time you're actually going to get a look at it. If you haven't looked at it already, there's our new website. Lovely. Isn't that beautiful? I know. Beautiful, isn't it? Beautiful.
It is.
All right.
It's very nice.
All right.
I'm surprised you haven't posted the Frat House standings
No,
up
no,
there.
I thought I'd wait a little while just to see how things go. You know, I didn't want to rub
get
it.
USA Today to
I didn't
publish
want to
that?
rub it in. I didn't want to rub it in too badly.
Yeah, we know.
All right.
It's okay.
Folks, sorry, long show. We know that tonight, but we had a lot to put in there and we had a lot to cover. So,
And we're in season 3. We're classing up the joint.
we are in season 3, and we got a football game to get to because we've got the Patriots and the Jets just getting about ready to kick off. So we're going to get to that. In the meantime, I'm going to ask you to do one more thing for all of us here. Just because it's season 3, this hasn't changed. You got to keep us real, and you got to keep us live, and you got to keep us going. Please do that for us. See you next week.
It's in my contract.
That you signed with yourself?
No. It's the new. You got. They didn't get new contracts for the 3rd year.
Right.
That's what it is.
Yep.
We got all new contracts for the
Does that
3rd
mean
year.
I can quit? Does that mean I don't have to do laundry anymore?
We got new contracts. Yeah. I didn't notice that though in your contract.
I heard that they were on a show-by-show basis.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
Due to funding.
On a show-by-show basis.
due to funding, we need funding. You hear me? Sponsorship. Yes, that's our next attack.
Napa know-how.
Yes, I heard they're going to be looking for somebody.
Yeah.
Napa
They may
know-how.
be in the market.
Yeah, Napa
Them and
know-
5-hour energy.
Yeah.
I should get my shot out of my 5-hour energy out of the
My
car.
bet is they go nowhere.
Oh, I don't think they're going to go
I
anywhere.
think it's smoke and mirrors.
I don't think they're going anywhere. Well, exactly. They had to make a statement, and this is a statement they're going to make for the moment because this is what you have to do. I mean,